2-0 to Spurs. Clear advantage as we take a look at the match stats. Harry Kane with his goal there on the hour mark from the penalty spot. As we take a look at the top half of the Premier League table, Spurs up into third, just 1 point back of Arsenal. So, Shaka, you had an eye on this one. Spurs, as they often do, just about getting it done?
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. And it's amazing to see Spurs on the same points as Manchester City, though they've played a game more, when those two teams couldn't be any more different. And while the highlight was genuine in that the first 45, there really was nothing to talk about, the second half, I thought Spurs started really well. And as much as Richarlison came off for Bissouma, I thought at last you saw Spurs kind of move the ball a lot quicker in the attacking third. Jordan Pickford, and the highlights were not kind to him, was well tested and played really well up until that moment. He made a save from Harry Kane volley moments before that error. But then from the time Spurs get the goal, for as good as they were to start the second half, for as improved as they had been from the first 45, they get the goal and then they just revert to type. Sit back, soak up pressure, not an awful lot doing. And in all honesty, that almost suited Everton. In that, I don't think Everton ever looked like they wanted more than a point. Like they were going to play for a 0-0 and hope to get something off a Spurs mistake. Even at 1-0, it was, well, let's not mess this up anymore. We might still get something out of it. So in the end, the late goal from Højbjerg kind of put a little distance between the two. But for their respective positions in the table, it's still amazing that we're talking about a Spurs team, as I said, in third, and an Everton team that continue to claw their way away from the bottom three, but didn't look all that good today either.
There's an article right now on our website by James Ollie. It kind of highlights the lack of rotation under Antonio Conte. Robbo, is that a strength of his or a weakness of his as a manager?
Whenever he's been, he's tried to have it as a strength. When he first went to Juventus, you could almost pick the side every week, and then it was only in the really games that they knew they were going to win against the really lower opposition that he started to change it. When he came in at Chelsea and they won the title, the team after the first 3 or 4 games when he was mixing between a back four and a back three stayed the same week in, week out, and he uses that as a strength because he wants the players to know what he wants from the team. Having said that, I'm not that impressed, and I agree with Shaka. At the moment, this isn't the Antonio Conte sides that I saw at Chelsea when he was the Italian manager, when he was the Juventus manager. He seems to have gone into a cycle of being very defensive. Even when he was manager of Inter, they played more attacking football than this. I think he's taken a risk by being so defensive and trying to play so much on the counter-attack. At some point, I think they will come slightly down the table. He's got to change his tactics and make Spurs a more dominant side if he wants to go and challenge for the title.
One more note on Spurs. We saw Richarlison leave the game early. If that is indeed a serious injury, how big a concern would that be for Brazil ahead of the World Cup?
It's a concern, but I don't think that there are people lining up to cry in Brazil right now. It would be a loss, but not a gigantic loss for Brazil. If there's one area of the field that Brazil has all sorts of options, is in the attacking half and certainly in the final third. So he gives them something different in terms of the type of player and the skill set that he provides for Brazil, but I don't think it would be catastrophic, though they would prefer to have him than not.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.